Here in the UK, there are few names quite as recognisable as Ford Focus. Now, over the decades, it's come to represent honest, value-for-money motoring with a healthy dose of driver involvement thrown in for good measure. Now, there's a new one with a whole new look, a revised interior, and, in this car particularly, a new hybrid engine. But does it keep those core values intact, and does it bring anything else to the party? That's what we're going to find out today. The look of the new Focus is definitely an evolution on that of the old one, but it's got some nice new features that help it stand out. You might notice that the Ford badge is now migrated into the front grille rather than being on the nose, and this active version in particular has some nice roof bars and some chunky exterior cladding to give it a little bit more presence. As before, it's still a really nicely well-rounded design and one that we think looks really good. As you can probably see, the interior of the new Ford Focus takes a very technology-focused approach to things with this huge central display which controls all aspects of the infotainment system. It's also got the heating and ventilation controls housed within it. And for me, that's slightly annoying because when you're on the move, trying to touch a touchscreen to adjust something as simple as the fan speed is slightly more intrusive than it would be just for a usual dial. However, it does clean up the overall feel of the cabin with far fewer buttons and controls than there were previously. The build quality is good too. Everything feels robust and solidly put together, and though there are some cheaper materials here and there, overall the material quality is good. We've also got some digital dials ahead of us and a head-up display in this one, so it really does feel far more technologically advanced than the previous generation Focus. However, it's still spacious and comfortable, so again, those core features are kept well and truly safe. It's hard not to be impressed by the sheer amount of space you get in the back of the new Focus. We've got loads of knee room, loads of room for your feet, and headroom is really good too. In terms of storage, it's okay. We've got some netting at the back of the seats and some small bins at the side, but it would be nice to see a little bit more. There is an armrest in the middle, and that does have two cup holders as well. In terms of charging, there's one small USB socket and a USB-C charger down here, but other than that, it's a pretty straightforward cabin. Space is the priority, and that really shines through here. At 375 litres, the boot in the new Focus is actually quite a bit larger than the one that you would have found in the old Focus. And handily, it's got a nice low load lip, so putting heavy items isn't going to be a struggle. It's also got a ski hatch, so if you do have longer items or skis, you can fold that through and you can slide them through, and that really helps to increase the overall practicality of this car. There's not too much otherwise in terms of storage. You do have some little hooks to hang your bags on, but overall it's a nicely sized area and it is quite square, so things like suitcases are going to fit in there really nicely. Now, this particular Focus uses a 1 litre turbocharged engine with mild hybrid assistance. Now, you might think that in a car as large as the Focus, a 1 litre engine might feel a little bit out of its depth, but with just over 150 brake horsepower, it feels really well suited to this package. And because of the hybrid assistance, you're getting really good economy figures too. In fact, Ford claims that you should see just over 52 mpg combined. It actually behaves far more like a larger capacity engine than you might think. Okay, low down, there's sometimes a little bit of grumble, but actually it pulls really strongly, and on the motorway it feels remarkably refined too, with the engine noise well isolated from entering the cabin. In fact, it's that level of refinement that you really do find shines through with the Focus. Alright, we've got a little bit of tyre noise and a small amount of wind noise, but this is a really quiet car. The mild hybrid assistance does help to take some of the strain off the engine, and in fact you can feel the car starting to slow itself up, almost like an EV. It can't run on fully electric power for any other than really slow speeds, but having that assistance, that extra boost in there, really does help the overall package. We've got a 6-speed manual in this car, and the shift is relatively long, so you do have to get a little bit used to it. It's not as sharp as I would have liked, but it's certainly not difficult to use, and the clutch pedal has a nice light action to it too. Now, the Focus was always famed for having excellent steering, and this latest car feels just the same. It does have a slight rubberiness to it, but that's something that we found on most modern Fords, but it's nice and accurate and you can place the car just where you want it. This particular car is an active version, so it does ride on slightly raised suspension. Fortunately enough, that doesn't impede the steering or the ability for this car to corner nice and evenly too much. It's still turns nice and flat, and though of course you are going to get a slightly more dynamic ride in a regular Focus, it's not all that bad. And in fact, an increase in ride height does give you a slightly elevated view of the road ahead, and it does actually give a small amount of loft to the way the car rides, and that's quite pleasing. One of the more distracting aspects of the car is this huge screen. It's fine if you want to set the navigation or select a song on your media device, but it's changing the heating, the ventilation controls, which becomes a real pain when you're trying to do it on the move, because you end up fiddling along this bar along the bottom. I would have just preferred normal buttons, but the definite trend is to include them inside the screen itself these days. The visibility in the Focus is good too, with nice slim pillars up front and well-sized wing mirrors too. Over the shoulder, that rearward pillar is quite thick, so you do have to be careful about cars in your blind spot. But right at the back, you've got a nice wide screen, which does give you a good view right behind you. I also like in this car that it's nice and easy to take off the lane keep assist system. Now on the motorway it's really useful because obviously it keeps you guided through motorway lanes, but when you're on roads that are tighter like the ones we're on today, I find it too intrusive. But fortunately on the indicator stalk it's just a one press button to turn it on and off. Some manufacturers like to hide that feature deep down in the screens, and you find yourself getting quite frustrated at having to be searching through all those different menus in order to turn it off, but Ford done it properly and made it nice and simple. And in terms of performance, Ford say that the Focus with this 1 litre engine should do 0 to 60 miles an hour in just under 9 seconds, which I think is really respectable for an engine of this size and a car of this size. It really does show where the technology is moving towards, that we're getting really small capacity engines coupled up with hybrid technology delivering the kind of performance that you would have expected from a mid-range diesel not that long ago. The new Ford Focus feels like it has a harder time to come out on top compared with its predecessors, who had fewer rivals and less competition. However, this new car feels just as relevant than it has done in recent years, thanks to an even more practical interior and a really good level of equipment that feels just ahead of the game compared to many of its competitors. It's still got a decent boot and it's still great to drive, while mild hybrid tech means that it's even cheaper to run than ever before. Despite the rise of the crossover and the increasing popularity of SUV, the Ford Focus shows just how good hatchbacks can be. Thank you for watching this Motors.co.uk new car review on the Ford Focus. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and let us know what you think of this car in the comments section below. And since you're here, please subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, hitting that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video.